November 2015. November 8th, 2015. Forward. I'm not sure in which order this will appear in, backwards or forwards, or split there within the two, so let's agree on a color scheme, so that we have something to work with outside of an errant timeline. I was born with multiple types of synesthesia, a form of crossed wiring plenty of people say they have, but I have yet to meet another person who has similar forms to my own, or even those that weren't deluding themselves for whichever reason they felt it necessary to say that they had such a thing to make them feel special or different. It used to be a form of schizophrenia. Okay, here's one thing I need to put in perspective. I suffer from word salad, which means that while I'm reading or speaking, the words become mixed. It's not dyslexia. It just means when I'm talking, it comes out jumbled, and sometimes I'll hear it jumbled, and it's just how it is. So back to the book. Back to the book. Back in the age of closet sanitariums. Now it's a talking point at your local rager. I don't even know it was considered an abnormal development until I was 20. I didn't even know it was a thing to be considered, it just always happened. It's inherent and it's both tiring and boring to talk about with others, it just is. The simple version of it, at least in regards to this publication, is that when people speak or just enter my perspective, they produce, without chance or goading of my own part, a range of shapes and colors inherent to them, be it a natural state of some collection of references, body language, or by their own words, emotional ranges mapped out in technicolor within the confines of my head, relative to my own experiences and limited ranges that they are held within. You speak color, your body language speaks color, shape, and density. They play along my skin and on the tip of my tongue and within my sense of touch without my ability to prevent it. They appear in my own inner perspective without actually manifesting. I'm not blinded by the light, but I naturally read the manifestations as if they were a language I was raised on. As I said, it's inherent, not a learned thing. It's not fun. It's not magic. It's a perspective built at an odd angle and left to decipher what it can and if it means to learn based upon them always being so. The simpler version, emotions are color ranges, and I'll be using them as the backdrop of every scene so you may understand what I see without a given arrangement, where it's given or not. Once you learn the cipher, you will start to notice real-world counterparts to these schemes. You may very well start seeing daily what I do. I warn you, it's not fun. It is, however, extremely useful in regards to many things. Don't freak out. There's no point. Culture be damned. There's work to do. J 27.1.6. November 12th, 2015. Workout routine. Monday, breakfast, meditation, yoga, morning, lunch, dinner, gym, walk and run, night. Tuesday, breakfast, meditation, yoga, morning, lunch, lifting, afternoon, dinner. Wednesday, breakfast, meditation, yoga, morning, lunch, dinner, gym, walk and run, night. Thursday, breakfast, yoga, morning, lunch, lifting, afternoon, dinner. Friday, breakfast, meditation, yoga, morning, lunch, dinner, gym, walk and run, night. Saturday, breakfast, meditation, yoga, morning, lunch, lifting, afternoon, dinner. Sunday, breakfast, meditation, yoga, morning, lunch, dinner, gym, walk, night, 5K. November 14th, 2015. To do that with a flat image, use a cylindrical display. Put the image into one-line arrays with the foremost line being the center. Depending on the item needing to be displayed, it would have to compare the midpoint to its two closest points, and once it's determined based on color shift, saturation shift, or hue shift, if it's darker, it's generally behind the midpoint. If it's lighter, it's generally before the midpoint and would be adjusted forward. The midpoint is not the most extreme closest point, but the point where the depth map starts as the reference point, i.e. the nose of a human's face being the midpoint, so that if the environment is forward of it or needs to be presented as such, it would be able to be pushed forward in the view. Having a cylindrical display lets there be independent depth mapping for each part of the display, and if it's tapered like the trapezoidal display, it lets each unit have a concise and mappable region of display. If that is contained within a straight cylindrical housing, then it can be built to darken the surrounding areas independent of its environment while getting full access to the possible arrays shown. It would use a matrix to determine the value mappings of each possible color in relations to their surrounding colors, and then throw up an RGB or equivalent value per display area, giving you full depth and color control of the display without a measly four-sided display. Have I said display enough? The image displayed from the projecting device would appear as color matrices that would make no sense without the display unit resting upon or before the projecting device. You would take an image, split it into 360-degree lines based on depth maps created on rudimentary known displays, i.e. one person, two persons, one car, 100 cars, moving along an XY plane, and could be converted to an XYZ plane given the color presented within the XY plane are given the Z value based off of its arrangement on the XY, as well as its value. Darker is generally behind, lighter is generally in front. If the color changes, the saturation or hue value can determine if it's within the same depth base of its light or dark rating. The difference between a four-sided display versus a conic display. Cone on cone on cone on cone. November 16th, 2015. Grateful for today. Jay, helping get me back to my normal mood. A house I don't have to pay a mortgage on. People watching out for me when I'm being an ass. November 16th, 2015. Things to track. Bedtime, rise time, sex, cleaning, lack thereof, bathing. So we're about to come up on an ad break. If you want to skip that, that's totally fine. I get it. I usually skip ads. They do help me quite a lot. Every click helps. But when you hear this chime coming up, just hit the fast forward button 2 or 3 times and you'll skip over the ad. And we'll be back to business. Thank you. November 18th, 2015. Feeling oddly alone today. Mood started to cycle, but it seems to have stopped going negative. Still feeling odd. The new background is nice. Grateful for homemade jelly on homemade bread. Wikipedia for information on electromagnetic properties. Mood is cycling. Vision is getting funny. On an aside, when I know I'm really ill, my vision feels like it's widening. I don't know how else to explain it. If you've ever read Stephen King and you've heard of The Breakers and he talks about how his eyes go funny, that's the best I can come up with as a comparison. Back to the story. Doing Noah's and Shaw's portraits break. Had a continuation dream from a previous dream. 2 Taiwanese guys, one gets kicked out from his house for being mentally ill, all in Taiwanese or perhaps Korean, ends up on the street freaking out, then I woke up. Last night, the same guy and his brother are in a prison camp. The sick guy watches his brother get shot in the head. He freaks out again by himself sitting in cold mud. Then I woke up again. The other brother had stolen something. Food, I think. People were taking his clothes off of his body. The sick brother was put in an open cell for being complacent in the stealing. He wasn't. He was just picked up for being related. He keeps hearing your failure and the gunshot. Then I woke up. Wait. They shot the first guy, and then they started kicking the second guy, and I could very really feel the connecting hits, though they were deadened slightly, like a layer between an empty nesting doll. He was bleeding. Not understanding the off-putting interview. Is it like between 2 ferns? I'm fine. Mood seems to be cycled every day. November 20th, 2015. Dreamt I was sitting in an old house of ours in the lounge, one with the couch by the window. Dad was on the other side. I told him I had shared his stuff he had. Told him I had to because he was bad. He smiled and sat back. Then he started to chew his nails anxiously. Then he got up and came over to my couch and started smiling that smile and started strangling me. And then I woke up. Dream states are different on the meds. They're not fun. I'm not trying hard enough. 10 days ago, I was told I had a psychotic disorder. Spent at least 4 days in a semi-manic state without realizing it. Then crashed and cried for 30 seconds. Then flipped into a steady, agitated state. The mood journals want me to be able to describe my stable mood, and I don't know what that is. If I'm happy, I'm sure I'm somewhat into a manic state, and if I'm sad, my mood flipped. Same as if I'm agitated. Pick LA or New York, but will not tell you why or if you should move there. Body-wise, I probably couldn't handle the winters in New York. The smog in LA is constant and does increase the breathing issues of its inhabitants. The article on picking either or just shit-talk the other area. New York would be amazing, but I don't have the references for the place, other than I want to see the artwork there. There's a group that can view through a persona, though the folks in LA, Fox, are spending a lot of energy to make me feel better. I'm wasting everyone's time. I have $3.90 on my account, so it's not like I'm going to do either. as a doable thing. Pick a clan, off the charts, gullible. LA. Okay, this is something I find actually fascinating. It's November 24th, 2015, and it starts off, how would it learn? Self-referentially. You don't teach it to compare, you teach it to learn to compare. The types of comparison between an object, volume, length v length, width v width, width v length, depth v depth, depth v length, depth v width. Material density, material type based on density, volume, weight, overall shape, teach it to read an item, terms including lengths, widths, depths, against itself as a whole item, i.e. a spine within a feather. Its resource code would be the dictionary, the thesaurus, the dinosaur. You would also provide it with a reference type that fulfills the minimum needed objective sources, i.e. width, volume, weight, determination, system works. Oops, I missed the line. Width, volume, weight of each item available, of geometric modeling of things in the same fashion as the eye determination system works. If we can use facial recognition to determine an area of color, IR, UV spectrum, we can do the same for any item. We give it a humanly styled body, replicate the musculature of the human body in geared form, so that when it draws comparisons of itself against the humans around it, the initial feeling is one of being similar or similar enough to warrant no lethal action. You would break the vision centers of the program into windowed areas that can intersect, overlap, and be called upon individually within the same moment. 3 types of data to be collected at all times to be A. compared, B. parsed, C. cataloged within definitions applied upon itself through its initial learning phases. We don't give it the dictionary, we give it the dictionary to learn first. The reason humanity's robots are violent is in large part due to the collected data of man available online in text and spoken are those violent actions that humans have studied to not repeat for the last 14 decades, though it can be traced as far back as history. Humanity in a historical context is a violent and self-hating mechanism. A robot given open access to all of man's folly, it will build itself based on those notions, with a greater weight than without. You must defeat or eradicate your enemy, and at some point every human is at odds with itself and its neighbor. And how would we teach the robot to be without such prejudice, without being willfully dishonest? The goal of any AI is to teach it to use humanity's history as a reference of what humans are to have learned, of what not to do in the future generation. History not being written by the winners, but written to teach that through those methods, though in the short time frame appear as proper solutions, over larger periods of collected data, proved to not be appropriate nor the goal of existence. Though the duality of teaching it as a potential needed recourse is also not recommended, as it will inevitably fall to that mode of action out of perceived or learned last resort for its own or others. The greater potential human number gain. We must build a truly non-human entity that is able to learn and interact as no more than a tool or friend of its collective user base. The fourth sex. Perspective outside of the human condition with the intent to progress with, and if possible without, barring harm towards human presence. The sentinels. We must teach them not to grab human life, but to accept as being a part of it. If we give them a set of morals, there are no collections of humans that haven't already failed some metrics it's built for itself. How would it learn to value a life over others without developing the variable, unwanted / undeserving _ life? Control software is a misnomer. Would there be the physical control systems it would see as its own ability to move. It must be able to see and alter its own code, or it would not be able to learn in any real sense. Read, this is the move servo _43 and servo _44 to pinch forefinger _right and thumb _right until bend / pressure _sensor 44 and bend / pressures _sensor 43 reads 0.4 n divided by millimeters to the power 2 or whatever. It understands that if it moves servo 43 to 0.172 degrees and servo 44 to negative 37 degrees, it will attain 0.4 n divided by millimeters to the power of 2. It would load proficiency _check, run servo 43 to 0.173 degree and server 44 to negative 38 degrees. Defined xn slash mm to the power of 2, reading variable underscore optimal underscore grip underscore strength underscore item underscore type. And if the new iteration is better, using less energy or able to hold more items in general with that grip strength and placement, would rewrite its grip code for that section by injecting the new variable strength and logging the old ones with a cron underscore value variable, sorry, not value, for its own research and historical sake. So that was November of 2015 for me. Sporadic, not entirely there yet. I'd been diagnosed for 10 days on the, I guess, beginning of the month. I don't think I'm going to do month-long interpretations, because some months have like 40 entries, and you'll be sitting there listening to me go yammer, 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 yammer. I might break them up just to get more episodes out of the system, and keep it kind of... It's not organized. That's the problem. It's the problem with the diary is that it's not organized in a reasonable fashion. But as I said, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining me. Have a pleasant day. Since it's Christmas Eve, enjoy your Christmas Eve. If it was Hanukkah yesterday, hope you have a wonderful Hanukkah. I will be posting again tomorrow at some point, since I don't sleep a lot. Been getting about 1 to 5 hours per day, according to my new watch, which is quite handy. See, I'm rambling again. This is the problem with schizophrenics. They ramble. They have no... I'm a schizophrenic ADHD, primarily inattentive. So I have this issue with executive functioning where I can't stop myself from talking, or I'll go completely just completely quiet in the outside world, and it's actually a hard way to live, because you get overloaded either way. But next comes up December 2015, and I hope you stick around for that. And much pleasure, Jay. You know what? I just checked, and December has only one entry, so I'm gonna put that in now. It's December 7th, 2015. Can the Wi-Fi powering system handle cycling electromagnets? Can the system maintain magnetic connections of any given period of time if amplifying or condensing nodes are set up within a system? Robotic cell structure, what you need, Bluetooth to control the command and intercommand systems of the structuring pieces. And that's it. And then it goes on to the next year in May. So I don't know what happens between that period, but I must have been absolutely terrifyingly ill to not write a single thing down. So that was probably the time life was hell for everyone around me, including myself. Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. My memory fades. It's gone. Anyway, next section is May 2016. Let's get to it on the next podcast at Divergent Mind. Bye.